So in fantasy games, right? Uh, as far as I'm concerned, the whole point of a fantasy game is to experience the fantasy aspects, right? So I never really understood why people played human rogues or human warriors because we already have those. You don't need to play a fantasy game to see one of those. For that reason, I played a city elf rogue in Origins, Dragon Age Origins. I played a human mage in Dragon Age 2, and my first several runs of Dragon Age Inquisition were an elf, a Kunari, a dwarf, most of the time mages. If I was playing a dwarf, I was usually going with rogue. And then eventually I decided that, hey, I'm curious about why the Chantry doesn't like you if you're just like a human rogue. Because obviously, if you're a mage, they have a problem with you being a mage. If you're an elf, they have a problem with you being an elf. Shit like that. Um, so I decided to make a character to see what the whole deal was. And originally, I only planned to take her to Valrayo and then stop playing after that point. But then I got really invested in her backstory. I hadn't really read the human origin in Inquisition before. So when I saw the whole, you are from a very devout Andrastian family, and you, as the youngest child, are expected to either join the Chantry or become a Templar, whether you want to or not. My neurons started firing, and I came up with a backstory for her. So basically, my Evelyn Trevelyan is a human rogue, and she is absolutely fucking fascinated by magic. She thinks it's so cool. It's kind of like one of those, you know how you have that one kid who just is obsessed with like Arctic foxes or some shit. And they just want to keep reading about them and talk about them all the time, all of that shit. That's basically her with magic. But her family wasn't all too pleased about it because they're very much like, oh, magic is a curse. You shouldn't view it as something good. Um, so she was never really allowed to uh, explore this interest. Um, and the first time she met a mage was when she was like 4 or 5 years old, and she got really sick. Like, she was on bed rest for several months, and her parents were tearing their hair out trying to figure out how to help her. They had brought in doctors, herbalists, anyone they could think of. And eventually they decided to call in a mage with a propensity for healing magic, right? And this mage had barely been there 3 days when Evelyn already started to feel better because of what he was doing to help her, right? And she had so much fun talking to this dude. She was like, "Oh, you want to talk with me about my interests, and you want to talk with me about um how how I'm feeling, and you like actually seem to care about what I want to talk about." And she was having so much fun, and she was so sad when he had to be sent back to his circle. Um, and generally, she just really wanted him to like stay with the family, but her parents were like, absolutely the fuck not. uh so by the time Inquisition starts, right, where the whole temple blows up and our Inquisitor is the only survivor and walks out of the Fade, and she meets Solus, she is like so fucking excited to be talking to him because she hasn't really been allowed to talk about her interests with anyone or go to a circle to like talk with mages about her interest in magic or stuff like that. So Solus is the first like person who's actually knowledgeable about the subject, who's willing to talk to her about it. Like he talks about the fate, he talks about spirits, he talks about magic, he talks about the magic that's specific to the mark on her hand. She is having an absolute blast hanging out with this dude. She just clings to him. And at the start, she definitely had a bit of a crush on him. But then she was like, oh yeah, he's not interested. So she moved on. And she ends up romancing Blackwall. Because Blackwall is very much a person who believes in giving people second chances. And she's like, I would like that. Mostly because she feels kind of guilty about her association to her family and how her family in general have treated mages just like absolute fucking dog shit. And she wants to like believe that she can be different from them. Um, Also, she's never been a particularly devout person. You know how people would tell her that they felt the chant of light flowing through them and how it was the most beautiful experience in the world. And she was just like, yeah, it's just like, it's kind of a nice song, I suppose. But basically, she is having an absolute blast with the Inquisition, especially because she gets to meet Vivian, she gets to meet Solus, she gets to meet Dorian, she gets to meet Cole. She gets to just talk about her interests and stuff, and she is having so much fun, especially when they join up with the mages, and she's like, oh my god, there are so many people who can now talk to me about my interests, and I can learn more stuff. And then she gets made Inquisitor, and she's like, I'm not sure I'm the right person for this job, but this does mean people will be more willing to tell me stuff about magic, so you know what, let's fucking do it. She is just having the time of her fucking life, honestly. And she just really likes having people around her who don't necessarily judge her for her interests and who just speak with her. You know, she's having a fucking blast. Because she is romancing Blackwall, she's very much like, yeah, like the wardens can be misguided, but I still think they're necessary. That's very much her opinion on that. So when you get to Adamant Fortress, she saves Alistair, and Alistair is given the opportunity to help the Wardens rebuild while they work with the Inquisition. Um, and now, because I mentioned that she romances Blackwall, I kind of have to mention her reaction to finding out about what he did, and she's very much like, "Ooh, that's not great," but also I can tell that you're trying to be a better person, and the fact that you like were willing to own up to your mistakes tells me that you deserve a second chance, right? She is completely understanding that people might not forgive him for what he's done, and she's like, yep, that's fair. You did a horrible fucking thing. Not everyone has to forgive you. But she's also very much like, hey, if if you want to atone, you gotta do it the hard way, because dying is easy. It's one of the easiest fucking things you can do. But living with the guilt and having to apologize to people and bettering yourself, that is so fucking difficult. And she's like, I believe you can do it, but also you need to atone for what you've done. So she doesn't give him to the wardens, but she is like, you need to atone for your mistakes, right? that's about the gist of what's going on with my Trevelyan. So if you enjoyed listening to me ramble about my Inquisitor, maybe consider liking the video. You don't have to, but I would appreciate it. And I hope you have an amazing day.